So hello, Joe. Before we start,
Hey.
I want to introduce myself. My name is Avi Itzkovich. I'm the founder of UX Salon, and we are on UX on Coffee. You have your coffee, which
Yeah,
bas-
I have.
which basically means we're going to
Mm.
have a casual conversation speaking about user experience and your topic, which is closure experiences. And when the coffee
Yep.
is over, the conversation is over. That's the format.
Okay, brilliant.
So introduce yourself. What do you do?
So I'm a designer by trade. I went into interaction design years ago before the web boom and stuff, and worked in many different fields, from mobile and more recently apps and some startup stuff. And then, so my most recent thing, I was the head of design at Us2. That was quite a big role. There's over three sites. We had New York, London, and Malmo in southern Sweden. And I left there a couple of years ago to look into an issue that I've been interested in for years, which is how we design the end of experiences, the offboarding. We're overwhelmingly focused on the onboarding and the starting experience. So now I'm looking at closure experiences, how the philosophy and history around that works, and
So how did you? I mean,
yeah. So
this is
now
a
I'm
very
writing a book about
fascinating.
it.
Oh, you're writing a book about it. It's very fascinating. When I first kind of got to hear about it from you, I was amazed because it's something that we often ignore. We always try to retain people, to hold them in the experience, never
Yeah.
let them go. But
Yes.
there's something that we should consider beyond what we're doing because people sometimes
Abs-
leave.
Absolutely. So a good few years ago, I had a couple of experiences, and I'm sure not unsimilar to many other people. I was working at a college, and I set a project about waste and rubbish and stuff. And all the students go off merrily, come back with new ideas of new waste and new products. They basically came back with some more stuff, which is the wrong approach. And equally, I thought then that have we got a vocabulary around this? Have we got a vocabulary around endings? And I had another thing, which was this service experience, a an avatar, voice recognition avatar that used to look after your voice calls. This was when people left voice messages, and it was so awful. And I hated it so much. I didn't want to just end it. I wanted to throttle this horrible avatar that had made my life so awful for months. So it was very much that richness that we add into the beginning of big experiences just isn't present at the offboarding and ending. So after those experiences, I started to look into it a bit more. And a while ago, like in the early 2000s, I wrote one piece about it. But ever since, I've been fiddling around with it. And then in the last couple of years, I've dug into it seriously, and it's fascinating. And like you say, I think once you think about it a bit more, it starts to become very compelling, and it makes me understand why we're doing stuff wrong in terms of we're not grappling with a bigger society and historical picture of why we can't deal with endings when we talk about things like sustainability or mis-selling in financial services, or these answers aren't deep, profound, or intellectual enough to really grapple with the problems.
So what do we do? How do we kind of overcome this notion? I mean, I'm speaking to you as a user experience designer. We always want to make sure that the experience is optimal, and we onboard people, and they will never leave us. And we don't
Yeah,
think
that's
about.
always the assumption, isn't it?
We want that, but how can we
Yeah.
design for something that it's not beyond our control?
So I often say to people, I know my marriage is going to end in divorce or death. That's absolutely, there's no other way out of my marriage. It's going to end in either of those two routes. So I know that, and we all do know that our lives are going to end in some way. Yet when we approach a lot of projects, and especially the commercial elements, not just of interaction design, but if you broaden that out to service design, and anything which we create as humans has some component of forethought and an onboarding and a assumed usage. So when we think about that, we have to start thinking about what it means for that to end. And now what we get trapped inside of is this excitement and passion around onboarding, whether you're designing a bank interface or a new game or a new product experience. We just don't put enough any effort in a lot of cases into the offboarding. So the effects, like even today, there was another bank, I think it was NatWest, they've got to put aside another 3.1 billion for mis-selling in the US on mortgages. Now, for me, if you look at the amount of hard onboarding they were doing around that time, and you think of the terrible consideration of any offboarding, it basically caused a lot of these things. And the problem is that we find big banks instead of getting them to acknowledge or design those offboarding things more coherently.
So what is so you've been thinking a lot of this about a lot. It's not just in the digital realm, which by the way, you're coming to Tel Aviv on March 19 to speak about it.
Yeah,
but it's also,
that's right. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it's also it has like I read you said there has three facets, right? In services, in digital realm, and in products that we.
That's right.
So give me an example from those three. Like how, for example, a shampoo bottle, right? When I buy it, what's the end experience?
Well, a good one on packaging. I think packaging is a really interesting area because it's obviously part of that onboarding process. You have components which are things like advertising and marketing. They're very much pulling you on to the curve of getting you embedded or onboarded. And then once you get to something like packaging, you need to make often packaging has two very clear components in it. It has an attractive branding component that often we're getting allured to. So if it's like some crisps, it will be a picture of the crisps and like the brand name, and you'll acknowledge that. And the shampoo bottle could be your brand, and you recognize that, and it looks clean and it has colors and stuff like that. And then when you look around on the back, it will have a lot of information about usage, so how you use it, what chemicals it's got, which is sort of like what it's been manufactured with. So all of these things have come to this point of you using this shampoo bottle. But when you think about, now how do I dispose of this? It often, and this is I'm talking broadly here, you'll have a few different touch points, and you're assuming that people will want to recycle that shampoo bottle, assuming it's made out of plastic. There'll be some symbols on there, which I'd argue most people haven't got a clue what those symbols mean in terms of how the components of plastic are made up. There's nothing about how long this component will live in the waste, the sort of landfill type waste. So there's no encouragement to really recycle it. In terms of experience design or interaction design, it's an interface that is unusable for the consumer. But because it's on the offboarding part of the consumer life cycle, it hasn't got the gravity of interest or usage for our clients that it would have if it was part of the problems of onboarding. Take, for example, the way that we sell phones. The sort of desirable, clean aesthetic that often is used for a lot of technology, and the unpackaging, etc., etc. And you get one of these little boxes for like the iPhone, for example, and on it will have you'll get that box out, and on the packaging it has very little about the offboarding. What's the lingering aftermath of this device? Yet you have to start using it and sign up for loads of T's and C's, which are also an onboarding component before usage. But none of these talk about what are you going to do with all this data when you upgrade again and get a new phone in 18 months, what happens to the heavy metals in the phone? And what's the offboarding? What do I do with it? How do I dismantle it? So a lot of electronics, for example, the evidence of this is, I bet you've got a drawer full of phones, and a lot of electronics get left on our shelves because it's a complicated offboarding process.
Mm.
So we're having these problems in all sorts of industries, and you look at the service industry, the chronic amount of mis-selling in financial services that we get encouraged to do for a long period of time. In fact, pensions is a good one. If you look at the pensions in the UK, you'll have about 10 employers in your life. Each one of those has a different pension pot. And the Department for Work, the Age Concern, done some research recently. 1 in 4 of those pension pots goes missing once you get to the end of life, and 50 years in the future, you want to draw on your pension. So each of these industries has a different manifestation of endings and problems around closure.
I mean, that's fascinating. But how do we, as designers, why should we care? I mean, this is not right. This is not our cup of tea.
I think we are very much the right people to care about this. If you think about the amount of time that designers and product development people put into onboarding and creating a new thing, we have the right tools and the right skills to create good offboarding experiences. Sadly, a lot of offboarding experiences are left to governments, to local councils, like your waste disposal, and we don't consider it in the same experience. So what we need to do is start thinking about endings a lot more, and it goes way back. It's a big societal problem.
But ultimately, I mean, if we're working for someone, we're getting paid to do the best jobs, to retain people, to onboard them, to get the money going through their business. I mean, if there's no angle for us to come to our employees and say, well, this will actually have a good return on investment if we do invest in the end, what's the argument?
So at the moment, we don't think about it at all, I'd argue. A small amount of thought around it. I argue that if you think about your product in 5 years' time, especially a digital product, you will have to consider how you're going to offboard people. And a lot of the time we get employed as designers, especially in digital, to only consider onboarding and usage. Those are your primary user cases your client will pay for. And when you come to the client and say, like, what about people leaving or offboarding, they'll have very little interest in that aspect of it, in denial, really, because that's everyone leaves the service. But if you grapple with that, and only a small amount of effort, I think, would improve all of the discussion around this, and we'd create much better service, digital, and product experiences by just looking a small amount at endings and closure experiences.
This would ultimately create a better brand. I mean, what's the benefits of, for example, give me some.
Okay, let's look at the gym industry, like going to the gym. Now, gyms, the majority of people just sign up to gyms in January after like a really overindulgent Christmas, for example, at least in the West. And then it drops off very quickly, gym usage, after people sign up. The way gyms have decided to get around this is put pretty extreme contracts in place, which mean you can't get out of it in a certain amount of time, or you're committed for a 3-month relationship, for example. But gyms also have an attrition rate which is atrocious, between 30% and 50%. So the best gyms have a turnover of 30% of people. So if they're not thinking about making that a good offboarding experience, that's at the very least half. At the very least, it's 30%. At the very most, it could be 50% of their clientele are having a horrible exit. And if people are leaving gyms that much, then surely they're signing up for gyms quite often. So people are going to judge gyms on their offboarding because everyone's looked already at the onboarding. So your USP as a gym company will be the best closure experience.
I think that's
equally you could argue in. Go on.
No, I think that's a great example. I think that shows you that, I mean, people come back, and sometimes if they had a bad experience, the brand is tarnished. They will think, maybe I shouldn't sign up again. Maybe I don't want to try again, because then if I don't want to commit again. But how do we translate this to the digital? For example, can you give me an application?
I think a very good example is digital. The turnover of apps is incredibly high. Like people will pick up something for a week or two and then drop it. And I know and I'm not uncommon in this. My phone's full of apps that I don't use much. And the trouble is they're lingering. Instead of going, "You're not using me," good, and a really nice goodbye, thanks very much. And then they'll put this into a positive mindset of like the next time I want to use that or pick it up, or the next time they do a release. Instead, what I've got is this sort of lingering pattern, which is it becomes indifferent and tarnished in a way. But the turnover in apps, equally, you could argue, is similar to gyms, that actually we've got such a high turnover of apps and phones that the first phone that does a good offboarding experiences acknowledges that we leave a lot of our old phones in drawers because it's too complicated to offboard, and acknowledges that there's loads of lingering data on my phone, they'll be one of the best phones in the market, or acknowledged and designed for offboarding. And then we'll get rid of all these phones in drawers.
Okay, this is very fascinating. I want to mention that we're going to end it here because I'm running out of coffee.
So have I. I've run out of coffee as well.
But you're coming to Tel Aviv on March 19th and 20th, and you're going to do a talk about the digital space of this closure experiences and a workshop. Just give me briefly what kind of stuff we're going to learn in the workshop. What kind of exercises you have planned?
So I really try and get a really fun and very exciting, high energy workshops. I find that people, because we could be quite negative and dark about this whole subject matter. So what we tend to do in workshops is I flip the issue and we try and design the worst possible endings. And with that, all of these questions and all of this stuff comes up in a far nicer, happier, and you'll learn loads and you'll have a great laugh doing it. And we do a load of exercises that really make us enjoy and reflect about these issues, because they're quite complicated, and that's really the exercise of the workshop, and it's great fun.
I mean, to me, this is the workshop and your talk and your topic is like an inception, because once you kind of expose yourself to thinking about it, it's like it's there. And then I think it's always in our mindset when we're designing products and we become better at what we do. So in that, I thank you very much for having coffee with me. And I'm looking forward
very much, Evie.
to see you in Tel Aviv in March 20 and UX Salon 2017.
Great. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.